You move into a sunlit house on a quiet street. The lawn is freshly mowed. There's a porch swing, and neighbors nod as you bring boxes inside. Everything feels right. Then, 6 weeks in, a crisp envelope arrives on HOA letterhead. You open it, and your stomach drops. "Dear homeowner," it reads, "your mailbox does not conform to community standards. You have 30 days to replace it with an approved model, or a fine of $75 per week will be assessed." $75 per week for a mailbox. Instead of panicking or immediately buying a new mailbox, this homeowner did the thing fewer people think to do. They dug through the closing documents. They pulled the inspection report and the seller's disclosure. There, in black and white, the mailbox was listed as a fixture that came with the property, installed by the previous owner. The seller had lived there for 11 years. Same mailbox, no violations. 11 years, 0 complaints. New owner moves in. 6 weeks later, suddenly it's a problem. So the homeowner responded in writing, sent certified mail. They attached copies of the closing paperwork, the inspection report, and a photo of their neighbor's mailbox. Same model, same color, same everything. At the bottom of the letter, one simple line: "Please explain why my mailbox was approved for 11 years and is now suddenly non-compliant." "I'll wait." You can feel the crescendo: calm, collected, firm. The HOA's response? Silence. No follow-up letter, no fine notices, no showdown at the next board meeting. And at the next neighborhood barbecue, awkwardness replaced what might have been a confrontation. The fine quietly disappeared, like it had never existed, because it should never have existed. So what happened here? A few reasonable possibilities present themselves. Maybe the HOA genuinely believed the mailbox violated a rule they'd overlooked. Maybe a new board member decided to start enforcing every clause in the rulebook. Or maybe this is the cynical but plausible take. They targeted the new homeowner, banking on the idea that a newcomer would pay to avoid a hassle. That's the core tension. Rule enforcement versus overreach. Was the HOA doing its job to preserve community standards? Or were they trying to shake down a resident who looked like an easy mark? You don't need a law degree to see why the homeowner had the upper hand. Documents signed at closing matter. Fixtures that come with the house aren't casual props you can retroactively condemn. When rules bump up against property rights, the party with clear paperwork usually wins, or at least forces the other side to explain themselves. And the tactic here is simple and repeatable. Preserve records, respond in writing, and escalate calmly. Certified mail creates a paper trail. Photographs show parity. A clear, polite demand for explanation gives the HOA a chance to back down without drama. In this case, they did exactly that. This is also a cautionary tale. HOAs have real authority, but they don't have unlimited power. Process matters. Board members who overreach can be nudged back by documentation and a refusal to be bullied. Most times, the squeaky wheel isn't the one who pays, it's the one who proves they're right. So how do you decide which side of the line this falls on? That's where you come in. On-screen prompt. Vote now. Was the HOA enforcing rules, V for villain, or targeting the new homeowner, W for victim? Drop your vote in the comments. Before we move to case number 2, take a moment to absorb the lesson. Paperwork is power. Stay organized. Keep copies of everything from inspections to seller disclosures. And never underestimate the effect of a calm, documented rebuttal. It doesn't require confrontation, just clarity. Visuals, montage of documents, a calm homeowner mailing a letter, neighborhood barbecue with awkward smiles, on-screen text, case #2 annexed, gavel You come home from work, long day. You pull into your street, turn toward your driveway, and it's empty. Your car is gone. Not stolen, not repossessed, towed by your HOA from your own driveway. Let me say that again for the people in the back. The HOA authorized a tow truck to come onto your property and remove your vehicle from your driveway. The driveway you own, that's attached to the house you own, that you pay a mortgage on. Now you're probably thinking, there has to be a reason. right? Maybe the car was on blocks. Maybe it was leaking oil onto the street. Maybe it looked like it hadn't moved since the Clinton administration. Nope. It was a 2-year-old sedan, registered, insured, parked normally, in the driveway, facing forward. The violation, and I wish I was making this up, unapproved vehicle storage in a residential driveway. Storage. They called parking your car in your driveway storage. The homeowner calls the towing company. $340 to get the car back, plus a $40 a day storage fee, which is ironic, because apparently storage is only a problem when the HOA says it is. But here's where the homeowner went full attorney general on them. They pulled the CC&Rs, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, the actual legal document that governs what the HOA can and can't do. And guess what wasn't in there? Any clause, not one single line, giving the HOA authority to tow vehicles from private driveways. Not one word. The homeowner filed a complaint with the State Attorney General's office, sent a demand letter for the tow fees plus damages, CC'd the HOA's insurance carrier, because nothing makes an HOA board sweat like their insurance company asking questions. 3 weeks later, full refund, written apology, and a very quiet HOA board meeting where, rumor has it, the president resigned. Villain or victim? Was the HOA protecting property values and community standards? Or did they commit what basically amounts to car theft with a clipboard? Villain or W? You know what to do. This one's personal. Because if you can't grow tomatoes in your own backyard in America, then what exactly are we doing here? A homeowner, let's call her Sarah, decides to put in a small vegetable garden. Nothing crazy. Some tomato plants, a couple of pepper plants, herbs, basil, rosemary, the kind of garden your grandmother would have been proud of. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, a $200 fine, unapproved landscaping alteration, $200 for basil. Now most people would have ripped the garden out, paid the fine, and spent the rest of the year silently resenting their neighbors. That's what the HOA was counting on. Sarah wasn't most people. Sarah was a paralegal. And paralegals don't get mad, they get documented. She pulled the bylaws, all 47 pages, read every single one, highlighted, tabbed, cross-referenced, and found exactly what she suspected. The bylaws restricted structural landscaping modifications, meaning you couldn't build a retaining wall or install a water feature without approval. But a garden, plants and soil, not mentioned, not once, not anywhere. So Sarah didn't just respond. She prepared a brief, a real one, with citations. She quoted the specific bylaw sections the HOA claimed she violated, then showed, line by line, how none of them applied to a vegetable garden. She submitted it at the next open board meeting in front of 40 neighbors with copies for everyone. On-screen text, page 23, section 4.7, structural modifications, with highlight and strike through. The board tried to table it. Sarah asked for a vote. Bylaws required they hold one. If a homeowner formally requested it, the vote, 31-4, in Sarah's favor. The fine was reversed. And 3 months later, the HOA added a new section to the bylaws, specifically permitting vegetable gardens under 50 square feet. Sarah didn't just win. She changed the rules for everyone. So what's the call? Was the HOA right to try to maintain control over landscaping? Or did Sarah expose a board that was making up rules as they went? V or W? Drop it below. And if you're still here, good. Because the next 2 cases are where things go from annoying to genuinely scary. Quick thing before we get into case 4. If you're watching this and thinking, I have an HOA story worse than all of these, I believe you, and I want to hear it. Hit subscribe, drop your story in the comments, and it might end up in the next video. Your story, on trial, with thousands of people voting on it. Alright, case 4, on-screen text. Case #4, gavel slam. Slightly louder. This one isn't funny. This one is the kind of story that makes you wonder how HOAs are even legal. A homeowner, 5 years in the same neighborhood. Perfect record. Never a late payment, never a violation, not even a warning. 1 month, there's a $25 special assessment, some kind of common area maintenance fee. He pays it. Same day he gets the notice. Online banking, confirmation number and everything. Done. Forgotten. Moved on with his life. Until 8 months later, when he tries to refinance his mortgage, and the title company calls, "Sir, there's a lien on your property." A lien on his house. Filed by the HOA for $25. Now, if you don't know what a lien is, it's a legal claim against your property. It means someone is saying you owe them money, and until you pay, they have a right to a piece of your home. It can block a sale. It can block a refinance. It can destroy your credit score. Over $25 that he already paid. He contacts the HOA, shows the bank statement, shows the confirmation number, shows the date. Everything matches. Their response? Our records show the payment was not received. You'll need to resolve this with our management company. The management company? A third-party firm that handles billing for dozens of HOAs across the state. He calls them, gets transferred 4 times, finally reaches someone who says, and this is a direct quote, "We show a balance of $25. Would you like to pay now?" He already paid. He has proof. It doesn't matter. Here's what most people don't realize about HOA liens. Removing one isn't as simple as proving you paid. You often need the HOA to file a lien release with the county, which means you need their cooperation. The same people who filed the lien in the first place. Our homeowners spent 4 months. 4 months of calls, emails, certified letters, and eventually a demand letter from an attorney. $1,200 in legal fees to resolve a $25 dispute. That wasn't even a real dispute. The lien was eventually released. No apology, no reimbursement for legal fees. Just a form filed with the county clerk. Quietly, like nothing ever happened. $25 turned into $1,200 in legal fees. 8 months of stress and a nearly derailed refinance that would have saved him $300 a month. This one's heavy. Was this just a clerical error? The kind of thing that happens when bureaucracies get sloppy? Or is this what happens when an HOA has unchecked power and zero accountability? V or W? And I already know which way this one's going. On-screen text, case #5, the final verdict. Gavel slam, dramatic music swell. Last case. And this one might be the most satisfying. A dad buys his kid a basketball hoop. Portable, not bolted to anything. Sits at the edge of the driveway. Kid's 10 years old. Plays every day after school. Loves it. 3 days later, a knock on the door. HOA board member. Clipboard. The whole costume. That basketball hoop needs to come down. It's a violation of community guidelines. Now this dad, he's not a lawyer, not a paralegal. He's a high school history teacher. But here's the thing about history teachers. They read primary sources for a living. They know how to find the actual text of the thing everybody argues about, but nobody reads. So he reads the CC&Rs, all of them, and he finds something beautiful. Section 9, subsection 3. Permanent recreational structures, including but not limited to swing sets, trampolines, and fixed basketball hoops, must receive prior architectural approval. Permanent. Fixed. His hoop? Portable. On wheels. Not fixed to anything. Not permanent by any definition. Legal, structural, or common sense. But he doesn't stop there. Because he's a history teacher. And history teachers know that the best argument isn't just proving you're right. It's proving the other side is wrong. By their own standards. He does a walkthrough of the neighborhood with a camera. 7 houses with portable basketball hoops. 4 with portable soccer goals. 2 with those inflatable bounce houses that show up every birthday party and stay up until Thanksgiving. 0 violations issued to any of them. 7 identical hoops. 1 violation. Guess which one belongs to the only black family on the street? He presents everything at the next board meeting. The bylaw language, the photos, the pattern. He doesn't accuse anyone of anything. He doesn't have to. He just lays out the evidence and lets the room do the math. The violation was withdrawn before the meeting ended. The board member who issued it didn't run for re-election. And the dad, he added a second hoop. On-screen text. Case closed. Split screen of 5 cases. Moody, low drums. Slow zoom out over the suburban street from the cold open. Houses shrinking into a neat grid. You feel the hush. Midnight lawns. Porch lights. The camera holds on a single mailbox for a heartbeat, then pulls back to show all of them, each with its own story. Case 1. A mailbox that sat untouched for 11 years, until someone with a clipboard declared it non-compliant. You can picture it. A faded flag, a crooked post, a neighbor who loved the ritual of checking the mail. The HOA sent a notice, then another. The homeowner pulled out a shoebox of receipts. Original purchase, repairs, paint. The rules? Vague at best, drafted after the fact. The homeowner won on the paper trail. The mailbox stayed. Case 2. A car towed from its own driveway. Imagine the scene. Dusk, kids inside, a parent running late. The driveway marked no overnight parking in a rule that never existed when they bought the house. The tow truck's engine grozel becomes the soundtrack of indignation. The homeowner produced title and photos, proving constant, lawful use of the space. The HOA's notice disappeared into a stack of procedural errors. The car was returned, and the HOA paid the bill. Case 3. A garden that violated rules that technically didn't exist. Lavender and tomatoes, a wooden trellis, the sort of riotous, imperfect beauty that makes a yard feel like home. A complaint arrived. This contravenes the community aesthetic. The homeowner opened their file and found among old emails and design guidelines that the rule the HOA cited had been proposed years earlier and never adopted. The garden was defended with meeting minutes and dated photos. The soil stayed undisturbed. Case 4. A lien over $25 that had already been paid. It's petty, but it's the smallest grievances that reveal bigger problems. You feel the friction, a clerk's misapplied dollar figure, an automated system that didn't check receipts, a homeowner's bank statement that read like an alibi. The homeowner brought a ledger, cleared the debt, and exposed a pattern of sloppy accounting. The lien vanished, but the trust did not return so easily. Case 5. A basketball hoop that exposed something uglier than a bylaw dispute. A simple hoop on a driveway. Kids practicing layups. Nets whipping in the wind. A complaint landed not because of the hoop itself, but because the hoop belonged to a family who were easy targets. Different, outspoken, willing to push back. The enforcement escalated. Multiple letters. A threat of fines. The community watched as rules were wielded selectively. The homeowner compiled emails, video of the games, witness statements. The case revealed bias in enforcement, and it sparked conversations the HOA could no longer dodge. 5 stories. Different specifics, the same thread. Neighborhoods policed not just by written rules, but by people who interpret them. These homeowners didn't sue out of spite. They didn't chain themselves to mailboxes or block tow trucks with protest signs. They did something quieter and harder to dismiss. They brought receipts, meeting minutes, timestamps, photos, and the HOA's own rules. They used the bureaucratic machinery to defeat the bureaucratic muscle. What does that tell you? First, HOAs are not monoliths. They often start with good intentions, shared maintenance, agreed standards, something to keep property values steady. For many neighborhoods, they do precisely that, coordinating roofs, mowing schedules, and shared spaces. But the systems that preserve aesthetic cohesion can also be bent toward enforcement excess. Power becomes policy without accountability. A clipboard becomes a gavel when systems lack checks. Second, documentation matters. If you live under an HOA, imagine a binder on your shelf. Purchase receipts, photos of your home over time, emails with the board, copies of every notice. That binder is your lifeline. It's less drama, more diligence. When rules are vague, precedent becomes persuasive. When enforcement is selective, Records reveal patterns. These 5 homeowners won because paper and pixels told the truth when anecdotes could not. Third, community standards require community input. Boards are volunteer-run bodies in most places. That's both comforting and concerning. Comforting because neighbors govern neighbors. Concerning because volunteer oversight can lack legal rigor, consistent training, or a mandate to act impartially. The basketball hoop case is the sharpest example. Rules enforced unevenly expose biases that undermine community trust. So now it's time to decide. We're not voting on who was right in each tiny dispute. We're voting on the institution. Are HOAs guardians or gatekeepers? Do they protect or persecute? Drop your vote in the comments. V for villain. If you think HOAs too often overreach, weaponizing rules against residents. V for victim. If you believe HOAs are protecting property values and safety, and these cases were outliers. Not V or W for a single homeowner, but for all 5 combined. Which side do you think the balance tips toward? You've just watched 5 neighborhoods, 5 conflicts, and 5 quiet, document-driven victories. The split screen fades as the camera continues its slow pull away from the houses, the music unresolved, like a question still in the air. Subscribe, hit the bell, vote in the comments. We'll take your verdict into the next trial, and I'll see you there.